I'm going to call the meeting to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Anna, will you call the roll, please?
Ski.
Here.
Foster.
Here.
Vincent.
Here.
Kurland.
Here.
Allner.
Here.
Here.
Perry.
Here, thanks. I would like to move an agenda item up to the front. Is there any objection to
I'm sorry.
agenda item D?
But there's two.
We may as well just do both of them, if we can, at the beginning of the meeting. Are there any objections to changing the agenda item? Great, then we'll begin with a discussion regarding the request for variances for 3655 Orange Place, formerly Red Lobster site, to permit a new 5-story motel.
Do the introduction of the rule.
We, council, heard last week that the planning and zoning had voted for this 4-0 to be recommended, but council felt fairly strongly about the variances being so large in scope and so numerous. It's kind of unprecedented for this body to have such a large variance request. So with that, we also received a letter that was quite lengthy, but hopefully you all received it and could at least glance at it before this meeting. And so this is our opportunity to discuss what we would like to do to move forward with this. We have a choice. We could send it back to planning and zoning with our questions that we sent to Kim, and you received some. So maybe you should start with what some of those points were.
Make a comment.
Sure. Is that okay?
I want to talk a little bit about variances in general and not necessarily this one in specific. But the zoning code was written with the idea that not all inevitabilities are specifically addressed and in some cases create hardships of their own. Particularly where the code allows for uses and then sets out standards that prohibit or significantly restrict that use. In addition, codes do not necessarily keep pace with current technology standards and practices. While we work to identify these and take measures to correct them, we don't often recognize them until a situation is presented to us that we need to consider. Therefore, the zoning code includes a process and an allowance to consider variances as a means to offer relief. Of course, it is up to the applicant to make the case for that relief. However, it is not unreasonable to consider multiple variances to accommodate that relief, so long as they do not materially change the intent of the code. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim, why don't you?
Yeah, I think to that end, I mean, I specifically asked that, and you had indicated that our ordinances were going to be looked at for revision, and you were starting with and having someone start with the zoning ordinances, and that was supposed to be handled already. So either it didn't happen or it's still happening. But nonetheless, some of the questions that I've received are, what are the specific hardships particular to this property that are preventing you or the developer from the reasonable use of your property? So that's one question, which I think is a reasonable question.
Can I interrupt for a second?
That was your, I was wondering,
submitted that.
yeah.
One of the reasons is, and the law director can opine on this as well, but what the code mandates for the approval of variance, they have to display some level of hardship. And there's the Duncan case is the name of it, and it outlines what the parameters are, which are largely captured in our code. And in the lengthy diatribe that we received today, And in all of the information that I've seen, I have not seen any display of any hardship. Usually hardship is the configuration of the lot is not conducive. There's not enough frontage. There's bedrock that is not drillable, et cetera. And so there's been no even indication that there's any hardship in the developer's plan that would mandate a deviation from the zoning situation. And if I may,
Sure.
just push back a little bit, Mayor. And I get that the zoning situation may be one that that maybe needs to be updated, et cetera, but our laws are presumed to be valid. And this is the zoning code as we have it today, as when they applied, when everybody else does, and they've got to live with the rules just like everybody else. We don't get to change them because somebody came in front of us. Yes, we can morph them at time into things that are more up to date, and that's a good idea and something we could do, but currently this is a zoning rule, and telling us that, hey, it should be more update, not something that we disagree with, but unfortunately, that's where we are today. So that's why I submitted that question. I'm sorry.
I think it's a valid question. I think, I mean, I agree. And I will, if I'm being honest about how I feel about this project, I'm on the fence. We are looking at an empty Red Lobster building that has no use, no benefit to our community, or putting in a project which will have jobs, it will be useful, it will, be active, it'll be, the land will be used, there'll be taxes coming in. I mean, there's benefits. I see all of that. The problem that I'm having, because much like Jim, I'm a lawyer, I like rules. That's kind of the way I was trained, and I think, if this is the case, then why are we not updating our zoning code, our ordinances? That's what should have been done, and I think that was the answer. I'm torn because I also am not seeing a hardship in the legal sense of the I read your letter. I thought it was excellent. I'm very willing to put that in the public record and allow any member of the community or to provide it to you, Ed. Anyone can read it. It's not a secret, but it is rather long, so I don't necessarily want to read it here, if that's okay. It made sense to me. I'm not saying it didn't. I'm saying that we have rules, and you're supposed to be able to show a hardship. And that's what I'm not seeing. So wait a second, if you will. What I would like to know is, what is the specific hardship in the legal sense of the terms, okay, and that's a term of art, that as to why these variances should be permitted? That's the first question. So you can take notes if you want, or watch the recording, or I don't know, whatever.
Before you go on, I'd like to tag on to that because I think one of the questions I submitted to you was very similar to that.
Yep.
And in my mind, variances exist to fix unique physical hardships, not to maximize profit for the builder. And I believe the number of variances requested indicates a more self-created hardship and I hope that I'd like to see it go back to planning and zoning so that we can revisit whether or not this is the right project for this space under the current code that we have. I want to apologize. I worked late tonight and I saw the letter come in, but it was very lengthy and I have not had a chance to read it. So I will look up what you're talking about and what you referred to, but at the same time, I think there are specific questions that still need to be answered, and I would like to see it go back to planning and zoning for that.
Okay.
I'd like to add one thing. It's not just hardship that is a reason to validate a zoning variance, but practical difficulty. And the code, where the code creates such a practical difficulty, then the opportunity for a variance can be considered and ought to be. So please consider that along with, the idea of hardship.
Let's hear what else Ms. Allner has come up with.
Okay. These are in no specific order, so, aside from seeking variances, what other alternative methods have you sought to comply with the village's current zoning requirements? For example, have you commissioned other designs that comply with the village's zoning provisions? If not, why have you not done so? Is all of your financing in place? Or are you seeking any collaboration with any governmental entity for funding sources that are not currently finalized? For example, grants, TIF requests, tax abatement, et cetera. And what are your funding sources and total estimated project costs? And again, I'm happy to provide these in writing. This is not meant to be secretive in any way to anybody. this is similar, I believe, to what we discussed first. What are the justifications for so many and such extensive variances, i.e. if this site requires this many exceptions, is the proposed project fundamentally too large for this specific lot? In my mind, I think that goes to the discussion that we just had. It seems like a wonderful project, but maybe this specific lot isn't a great fit for this particular project. This is just a question. I haven't drawn that conclusion. Are the variances being granted just to accommodate a more profitable project than what the zoning code truly calls for? Does the cumulative impact of all these variances fundamentally cause a rewrite of the zoning code as it was intended and alter the character of the neighborhood and the village? And what message does that signal to our residents? Is this hotel on this street, in this space, so inherently needed that it would be a detriment to our village not to allow the variances? And I think that's a great question, and I think that also goes to the fact that we have an empty building that's been sitting there, which is not doing anything. We also have the previous testimony of the mayor that he has spent, and the developer both, that they have spent considerable time and effort over several years and have not been able to find any other projects for that space. How will these variances and thereby this hotel affect the safety of our residents and our first responders? What guarantees do we have that a subsequent purchaser will maintain the upscale quality that would define that space? So for example, 5-10 years down the line, do we have a guarantee that Tempo by Hilton is going to still be there? Or is this project going to, lay empty or try to find another buyer or something? And then what recourse would the village have if it doesn't and leads to the same issues that we have experienced with other hotels on that street previously? And does approving this many variances for one property set a dangerous precedent that would cause us issues with future potential developers and builders? So those are some of the questions that have been noted by council members. There may be others that did not come into me. Again, I am in agreement that I believe that the most appropriate measure at this point is for this to go back to planning and zoning, to engage in a discourse with the developer as well as other interested parties to get answers to these questions and to determine whether or not this is a suitable project for Orange.
Thank you.
So I would make a motion. I would make a motion to put it back to planning and zoning. Is that the procedure?
Second
I
it.
think when we get to the resolution, we can take a feel for if that's what everybody feels like they want to do. This is just our discussion period. Mr. Soltis, I'm sorry. I'm going to give you like 3 minutes, and you can do that after our discussion instead of waiting till the public comment period. But I'd like you to stick to under a 3-minute period. We all have your extensive email, and we take those things very seriously. So you don't have to repeat everything in there, okay? So let's hear from other council people. Anybody else want to discuss?
I mean, I exactly what, all those questions that Kim said are the questions that we discussed earlier, yesterday, whatever it was, last week. And I think that we need to really get answers. I agree with Kim that the most appropriate thing is for it to go back to planning and zoning to hopefully come up with answers to all those questions with the developer and decide if it's still something that they think is appropriate before it even bounces back.
Anybody on this side of the room?
I feel like I'm going to take the negative side of this, but I appreciate the development. Reading through the variances, nothing seemed overly egregious or I don't know, I understand each of them needed variances or each of the reasons behind the variances, but they only seemed like things that might be more detrimental to the developer. But if we have a developer who wants to come in and take the financial risk of building a property like this, especially with an abandoned building that looked like it would continue to sit abandoned and be unproductive for the city, I don't know. I'm not as bothered by some of these variances as I read through them. So
The only comment, the variances that showed up, all of them minus one, the lot size, were all placed in front of the planning commission and now council based on monetary aspects of the developer. And it is not this body's job to work to make the developer money. You can make it smaller, you can make the room smaller, you can make the less floors. The only thing that isn't negotiable is the lot size. The lot size is what it is. So the question that I know we've discussed, at least in some capacity, is if you morph, and the question there about have you looked at any alternative models or any other alternative plans that would comply with our zoning? And the question that I think I would tend to agree with my colleague would be that if there was a plan that came forward that complied with all of our zoning minus the lot size, then yeah, I think that'd be something that would have a much more palatable flavor to it. But I agree with Councilwoman Allner that I think these are valid questions that I think this body's owed answers to that would help us understand what it is you're ultimately seeking to do. And the financial aspects of it are something that I take great concern about, is that requesting a TIF is something that will greatly impact how I feel about this project. And I know that you have, or that they have, and that is something that I think this body is about to discuss in another capacity, and I don't think that that's something that is going to be looked upon very favorably. So to that extent, I don't know what your financing is, and in this stage you don't really owe us anything, but the fact that there is a public acknowledgement that this project relies on some level of tax relief or some sort of aspect of that, I think is something that will have to be discussed.
yeah.
So in any event, it's a long-winded way of saying, I agree with Kim. I think let's send it back. These are questions we can answer. Let's have the planning commission refer it back there and kind of dig into it a little deeper.
And is it reasonable to think that planning and zoning could look at this before our next first meeting in September?
I'm not sure I'm not sure that.
If
He wants me off council. He thinks I'm going to be gone. No, they'll lose that vote.
Why?
I may vote for it. I'm not, I don't know how I feel. I've said I don't know.
Mr. Soltis, we'll give you a little bit of time to respond. We won't answer your questions, though. It's just a comment.
Yeah, understood. And then thank you for the time. I appreciate it. Before, I'm going to try to read through what I prepared quickly. But before that, I would say that the main hardship is that the parcel is and has been zoned to allow a hotel use for decades, but then requires 3 acres, which the parcel never has been. So the zoning code itself sets up the parcel for hardship. And the variances, which are now 4, there are no longer 6 or 7, there are 4 variances, all depend upon this dimensional sort of hardship that the site itself is set up for, and the way the zoning code zoned it, hotel, but then said, you're 2.25 acres, but you have to have 3. So that's the main thing. And then I would just kind of briefly go over what I wrote to you in longer, and I appreciate you reading it. I know it's long. But I think that the most important thing first is that zoning, remember why variances exist. So zoning is essential. It protects neighborhoods, separates incompatible uses, regulates development intensity, and provides predictability. But no zoning code can perfectly anticipate every property or remain perfectly responsive as communities change over decades. And to change the zoning code constantly is a huge, costly undertaking for a city, which is why the variances are part of the process. Variances are an essential component of zoning code because cities are such complex organisms that you can never write a zoning code to work perfectly all the time. Landscapes, like cities change. No zoning code can anticipate all the changes. Landscapes change, transportation changes, markets change, technology changes, the way we live and work changes, and has dramatically in just the past 5 to 10 years. This is why a variance is not a way around the zoning code. It is part of the zoning process. It allows dimensional standards to be applied reasonably to a particular property while preserving the intent of the regulations. So the question is not simply whether every number on this plan matches every number in the zoning table. The question is whether these limited adjustments allow an expressly permitted use to fit this property while still protecting what the zoning code was intended to protect. And I also think it's important to understand in Orange Place in its historical context. You know, a little more than 60 years ago, there was no freeway. So the U4 Motorist Services District emerged from a very different landscape when motels, restaurants, gas stations, and other roadside uses developed along a new interstate and adjacent residential uses. Importantly, the U4 district was originally intended to manage and buffer those motorist services uses in a way that protected residential adjacencies. Those no longer exist. Orange Place today is very different. Pinecrest, Chagrin, Highlands, major office development, healthcare, hotels, restaurants, and commercial uses have transformed this part of the east side into one of the region's most significant employment and commercial centers. This particular site no longer immediately adjoins single-family residential properties. Tempo is part of that evolution. You know, tempo is something that is the evolution. Okay, is that my time?
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. It's all in the email. If anyone has questions, public too, you feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. Okay, so we will have an opportunity to vote on what we're going to do when we get to that item. But I'd like to move on to discussion of proposed council rules regarding public portions of meetings. We had a situation last week where people in the audience may not understand how the purpose of a council meeting is to legislate. And we have a small portion of our meeting dedicated to audience comments. Those comments have to remain respectful and calm and with limits. So we have thought a lot about helping everybody understand what those rules are. And who would like to discuss this? Chief or Mayor? Would you like to delineate those, or I can too?
Well, I think it's council's prerogative to promulgate the rules of conduct for the meeting. So I would cede my reading of that to council. If you'd like to do that, Lisa.
Yep, I'm just not sure I'm working with the latest version, so somebody correct me if my version isn't the latest one. Okay. So in general, this is our time to discuss this and decide if this is what we want to adopt for rules governing when people come up to the podium and give time. I think that it's within the council president's prerogative, depending on what the subject matter is and how many people want to speak, what that time limit will be. But other general rules were any person wishing to address the council shall sign in prior to speaking on a public comment sign-in form provided by the village. On the form, the speakers must state their names and address, provide that street name only is permissible, though, if they didn't want to give their address. Identify the public comment portion during which they intend to speak. So there are two portions. So the first one or the second one. The first one speaks to agenda items. The second one is for the good of the village. And also acknowledge that they have reviewed and intend to comply with these rules. Second, a speaker may request to speak during either or both public comment portions, but shall indicate on the sign-on form whether the speaker intends to speak during the agenda item public comment portion, the general village matters public comment portion, or both. 3, the speaker shall be recognized by the president of council before addressing council. 4, each speaker shall be limited to 3 minutes during each public comment portion for which the speaker is properly signed in. 5, the speaker shall address their comments through the president of council and to council as a body. This rule regulates the manner of address and does not prohibit relevant criticism of village officials, employees, policies, or actions. 6, speakers shall refrain from true threats of unlawful violence or conduct, including language or behavior that actually disrupts, obstructs, or materially interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. 7, no person may yield or transfer unused speaking time to another speaker. 8, the president of council shall be responsible for keeping the time, enforcing these rules, and may rule a speaker out of order for violating these rules. 9, continued violations of these rules during any public portion or true threats of unlawful violence or conduct, including language or behavior, that actually disrupts, obstructs, or materially interferes with the orderly conduct of a meeting may be addressed as permitted by law, including referral to law enforcement where applicable. Council members shall not respond to comments or questions during public comment period, but may comment during the portion of the meeting when the council members have the floor to comment on any subject.
Lisa, excuse me, I just want to interrupt on that one, just a quick question. May council ask questions for clarification during that time?
Typically, we don't because we don't want to engage in a back and forth. So usually if we're doing that, then it's something that would be expected, so.
From their 3 minutes.
Right. And take away from their 3 minutes. Yeah. Okay, 11, the council president or any member of council may make a motion to permit an extension of time for a member of the public. If the motion is approved by a majority of council members present, council may extend the speaking time of a particular speaker. The numbering. So the next item is the first public comment period shall be reserved for comments concerning matters appearing on that meeting's agenda. Next, a meeting wishing to address council during this portion shall indicate the agenda item public comment portion of the public comment sign-in form. Speakers shall limit their remarks to agenda items scheduled for consideration at that meeting.
Now, isn't number 11, or well, what's marked as 11 and 13 the same thing?
We know that they're mismarked.
I mean, aren't those two items the same? Number 11 on here, which is actually number 12, and what is listed as number 13.
It could be rewritten. It could be written to be more clear.
Okay. 14, the president of council shall enforce this agenda item limitation in a viewpoint neutral manner. 15, each speaker shall be limited to 3 minutes, which we've already said.
That again is a repeat of original number 4, yeah.
And 15, if multiple speakers wish to address the same agenda item, council encourages speakers to avoid repetition and present new information whenever possible. And last, public comment on agenda items shall occur at the location designated on the agenda and before council takes final action on the applicable item, whenever practicable. So, council, what are your thoughts on these?
Thank you. I've given, obviously, a great deal of thought to the public comment issue, and I've shared that with the council president as well. I do think it's time we set something official so there aren't unilateral changes each week or month or year. And this way, people coming in to speak know exactly what to expect and can be held accountable to those rules with the allowance that if something necessitates additional time, we can make that motion and vote on that at that time. Thank you.
If I could just add, I agree with Stacy, I agree with everything you're saying, and I thank you, Lisa, for your work on this, and I agree with it. I was surprised at the outset that, and Steve, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that I don't think there's any mandatory requirement that legislative bodies even allow public comment.
No,
I mean,
it's a
and I know it's crazy, but there are some entities that don't. And so, knowing that, I don't think anyone wants to get in a situation where we don't want to hear from the public. It's kind of part of our job. The only other question, I apologize if I missed it, is there an ability for, in what we've gone through already, to submit in written format so that it's added to the record? If it's already in there, I apologize, but, so that somebody who can't be here or et cetera can say, or if they're done what they're saying, hey, can I submit my written comments? Is that in there? I apologize, I didn't see
So,
that.
interestingly, I just sent it to Anna while Mr. Soltis was speaking. His email will be entered into the public record via the minutes.
Okay.
And we can do the same thing with those emails that we received that, you know, are too long. for
If
it
they
to
ask them to be, I mean, if they just send us a random email,
add them to the public record that way.
that's fine.
Suggested introductory statement, I know you didn't read that, but that sums up all of those rules you just talked about.
Yeah.
It does address that, and it says,
Maybe submitted to the clerk.
yeah, if an individual has additional comments or written comments, they may be submitted to the clerk of council for distribution to the mayor and council. I think we need to add, they may be submitted in advance too, for the record. But I think that clarifies that.
The preamble.
Lisa, I don't have a problem with any of these. I agree we need order so that our meetings can be productive and efficient, and we can get the work done that we are here to do. I also believe that limiting the time is at your prerogative as the council president, and next year, if there's a different council president, I guess if they want to change the time limit or whatever, that's up to them. And, you know, and that's not, I just, you know, it's part of your duties as running an orderly meeting.
Done in the past is if we have fewer people, I've given 5 minutes and if there's a lot of people, kind of making it shorter so we can still get to our business before.
I will say that the rhetoric, you know, I've been on council for 2.5 years, and the rhetoric has gotten increasingly hostile. And from this position, it's really hard sometimes. I have no problem taking criticism at all. I have no problem somebody pointing out if they disagree with us, if they want us to consider a different opinion. That's totally fine. I welcome that verbally, directly, in a meeting, outside of a meeting, in writing, whatever. But I do think that the tone of the discourse needs to be taken down a notch. It's been, you know, and it's really only on certain issues that I think are hot button issues, but we're all passionate. There are many times that I may not agree with my council members or the mayor on something, or they disagree with me, or that you all disagree with me, or I disagree. That's life. But we all need to engage in civil discourse. I think that's extremely important to our process.
Any other comments?
I think it's just important to set expectations. So setting expectations is important. So that way the public knows what to expect from us, and we know what to expect from the public. Maintaining a certain decorum and a public setting is always important, and maintaining rule of law. I like the fact that 11 allows for a little extra time as needed if something is really important or a certain stage. So I think having the 3 minutes is good, but it also allows a little flexibility in case something happens, as long as it's maintained in a certain decorum.
Right. And it follows suit that how we make motions and do a lot of our business would be to make a motion and have it second and call the roll. So we can do it that way. I
Let me
just want
think-
to read the enforcement section.
I had a question, actually. The one question I had is, we have had instances where people come and use that time to speak. They're not from our community at all. What they're talking to us about is something that is really not relevant to our business. And I'm wondering if we want to consider, and we may not, I don't know, I just throw this out there, that you need to be from Orange, or, you know, I don't know, I throw that out there, I don't know.
That would preclude certain people from speaking on behalf of like properties and things like that if they were only from
If they have a
one.
connection to Orange or something, I don't know.
And, you know, for example, the school board wants to make a comment tonight, and if they live in Pepper Pike, that would, I don't know. I'm not really in favor of that.
We often have guests that come to meetings that attend, and they have something that they want to share, for example, political candidates that have come to us, magistrates and so forth, that have come to us to introduce themselves, and they do that during those comment periods. I think we don't want to preclude that activity.
That's what I was referencing, really.
I think as long as it's short and sweet, that they can get up and tell us about the wonderful pie they're baking. I don't know.
What are you making there? I knew you did.
Says she has cookies
Elizabeth.
in our artisan market.
I'm just going to read the enforcement section. The president and council shall be responsible for keeping the time and enforcing these rules. Any speaker who has not completed the public comment sign-in form may be required to complete the form before speaking. And any speaker who exceeds the allotted time shall be directed to conclude their remarks. Any speaker who is disruptive, refuses to comply with the direction of president of council, or interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting may be ruled out of order and directed to cease speaking. Any behavior that intentionally obstructs or interferes with the village council conducting its meeting may be addressed as permitted by law, including referral to law enforcement where appropriate. Continued disruption of a meeting by any speaker or audience member may result in the removal of the meeting as permitted by law. So these rules, if we choose to adopt them, will be made available to everybody who wants to speak. In the sign-up sheet, people will be required to acknowledge that they understand the rules and will abide by them.
If I could, let me recommend that we have a draft here that we've done with some input from various folks. I'd like the opportunity to go back through here, rework this for a little more simplicity. Also, I've seen a draft of a sign-in sheet that's more comprehensive and allows more than one person to sign up at a time. So if I could, I'd like to rework this and bring it back next month to formally adopt. Meanwhile, you can state what the ground rules are now for the public portions this evening.
Okay, great. Thank you, Steve. I think for this evening, we should stick to a 3-minute time limit. And I would like to enact is that people come up here in a respectful, courteous manner and address us as professionals, and hopefully we don't have any of the nonsense that we had last week. Is that agreed?
Moving to public comment now?
Nope,
Oh,
not
okay.
yet.
Not yet.
I would also just note,
Okay.
I would also just note when you took over as council president, you assigned seats, which you were able to do, and you also limited the amount of time that we all can speak, which residents may or may not know, but that is, you know, that is within, I'm told, the purview of the council president, that he or she has the ability to do that in order to run an orderly meeting. So this is something that we all abide by.
Then let's get on with our meeting. Order of business, I need a motion to declare a 2016 Ram 3500 VIN number 3C7WRTAJIGG310630 and Western 8.5 foot. Snowplow serial number 160502 1099537697 is surplus to be disposed of at the mayor's discretion.
Moved.
Second.
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Stacy. Let's see.
Sure. Our new chassis finally came in. This is the one that we were going to reuse, the flatbed, the aluminum flatbed on the existing truck. That has been removed, and the new truck has been outfitted, so this truck is ready to go as described for surplus.
Thank you. Any questions? Call the roll.
Bilski,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
Kurland,
Yes.
Allner,
Yes.
Boyle,
Yes.
Perry.
Yes, thank you. Next, I'll make a motion to approve the tax administrator's report for June 2026. Is there a second?
Report.
Oh.
Five.
All right. I made a motion. You want to second it, Stacy? Thank you. She's two.
Evening, you have the summary monthly year-to-date activity for June 2026. June revenue from all funds totaled $1,382,894.48. June's expenditures for all funds totaled $1,220,917.63. And our fund cash balance for all funds at the end of June is $20,477,134.64 for all funds. You have the breakdown for that. You also have the revenue and expenditure report through June. Since we're at a quarter ending, you have all funds, including the general fund. We'll start there. General fund's revenues were at 57% of collections of the budget, and expenditures are at 43% of budget. The total of all fund sources revenues at 51%, and expenditures are at 42%. I highlighted for you those line items that have a larger variance with an explanation. Pretty much for the most part, they're all timing differences, and they're repeats from last month. But since you have the other funds, I thought I would just point out street construction, maintenance, and repair. Their variance is a little bit higher, and that's a result of the timing for when we purchase road salt. And then obviously, if we purchase the truck, it's going to skew that variance. Capital items, you'll have variances there as well for the timing of when we've purchased the capital expenditures. So that's all I had for that.
Any questions for Dana?
Bilski,
Yes.
Foster, Vincent, Kurland,
Yes.
Allner,
Yes.
Perry.
Thanks. Next, I'll make a motion to approve the tax administrator's report for June 2026. Second?
And
Jeff today. Okay, Dana?
Tax administrator report for funds received through June 30th. Income tax collections from all of our sources was $967,160.12, which is almost $127,000 higher than June from last year. We're currently at almost $214,000 higher year-to-date. So we're seeing a little bit of a peak in the month of June. You have the monthly and the gross graphs there as well to show where we have stand compared to the last 4 years.
Any questions?
And I just wanted to say I had another quick report when you're done approving that.
After our vote? Sure. Anna, will you call the roll?
Bilski,
Yes.
Foster, Vincent, Kurland, Allner,
Yes.
Boyle,
Yes.
Perry.
Yes, thank you. Okay, Dana, what else do you have?
I just wanted to let council know, you already are aware of this, but just for the record, that the audited financial reports for 2024 and 2025 fiscal year ends have been completed. Charles E. Harris and Associates did the audit, and then it was confirmed by the Auditor's Estate's Office. Council received the financial statements in an email from the Auditor's Estate. You can also find it at the Auditor's Estate website. There was 2 immaterial recommendations, or what they call management comments, which were already completed by the Finance Department prior to the completion of the audit. So those were just 2 minor issues with regards to a process and procedures. There was no major issues discussed. There was no fraud that was discovered. And there was just a worksheet alignment error that was found and reported by the Auditor's Estate. They corrected the financial statements in the final submission that you all have received. And that was all that they had reported to me.
Thank you. Thank you for giving that report. Okay, next we'll move on to a discussion of bills to be paid for the month of August in the amount of $424,586.13, and additional July expenses in the amount of $114,657.12. Does anybody have any questions or comments? And to audience comments relating to agenda items only. Whoever wants to speak tonight, please sign in and stick to 3 minutes. And come up to the microphone, please. I know Becca,
It's not an agenda item.
I think Becca wants to speak tonight during. Oh, it's about
An agenda item.
Sorry. Okay, so does anybody want to speak about agenda items? Okay, then we're going to move on to old business.
But there were 2 agenda items I believe people were here to speak on. One of them is the noise ordinance and the other is the TIF. Now is the time if you wanted to speak about either or both of those. The TIF for the motel is on the agenda. It was for discussion. It was on our agenda for discussion. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the Omni TIF. That's the TIF that you guys are, that's the one that you're here for.
Correct?
It's A and C. Yeah, sorry.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Quite a few of my neighbors, we've met and had various discussions, and many of our out of town this week. So just to respectfully ask that our concerns regarding the proposed Canyons TIF, the Omni TIF, be entered into the public record. Our concern is whether Orange Village should give up future tax revenue to subsidize a large, profitable private home builder for development that does not appear to require public financial assistance. Pulte is a multi-billion-dollar national home builder. This is not a contaminated or blighted property requiring economic revitalization. Pulte is marketing homes in the canyons beginning at approximately $531,000 and substantially higher. We therefore believe that the village should require a compelling demonstration that the project cannot proceed profitably without a TIF. There are also significant issues of trust between Pulte and its surrounding us as residents. Planning and Zoning Commission originally approved Phase 3 based on, in part, maintaining a tree buffer. Despite those requirements, Pulte proceeded with the destruction of the area without notice to the neighbors, residents, returning to the Planning and Zoning Commission for final approval. It's difficult to justify asking existing residents to subsidize a developer that has already created significant division with its neighbors. In our view, has failed to honor the protections that were intended to preserve the relationship between the existing neighborhood and the new development. There's also a broader financial concern. Orange Village is already a desirable community because of decades of investments by its residents in public institutions, our roads, emergency services, parks, schools, libraries, metro parks, and other infrastructure. Pulte benefits enormously from that existing investment and from the resulting property values. We question why residents should then suffer future tax revenue to further reduce Pulte's development costs. We ask council to provide clear answers regarding the proposed TIF. What percentage of the incremental property taxes will be diverted? 75, 100%, or another amount? For exactly how many years? Is this truly a non-school TIF? And where is the designation stated in the legislation? How much annual and cumulative revenue would otherwise go to Orange Village, Cuyahoga Public Library, and the metro parks? As stated Before approving the TIF, we respectfully ask council to provide a simple, independent financial analysis.
Mr. Lewis, your time is up, and we appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Very well, we'll submit the letter for inclusion in the record. Thank you.
I think if you send it to us in an email, it will be included.
Will
Okay,
do.
thank you.
Good evening. Getall Blum, I'm at 245 Orange Tree. I actually have two letters from two different neighbors in addition to my comments. I will try not to repeat or reiterate anything that Joe has said. I think a lot of our community's concerns are why the TIF is being, or was originally agreed on with Omni, and why that was transferred over to Pulte again for benefit of Pulte and the new residents of Orange. TIFs are generally used in impoverished or areas that need the financial assistance to grow to the benefit of their neighborhoods and their residents. None of us see that that is the issue here. Pulte is a financially very wealthy company. The residents of Orange, no one here denies that they're, we live in Orange, that we're an economic benefit. Along with the new residents, when you're buying homes starting at $500,000 and up, and they're getting the tax benefit of a lower basis, while the rest of us are seeing increases. And although none of us are going to balk at the idea that our house values are increasing, we are also paying those taxes as well. I think that is the idea. And the TIF is going, from what I understand, is going to a general fund. And as briefly, I think, stated in some emails that Mayor Klein has responded to my neighbors as, these are for the general funds for roads. What sounds like it's going to be for the New Canyons project. There was nothing to mention of this is going to benefit Orange as a whole, although from a financial standpoint, it's just pulling money away from the county, and I am a county employee. Asking for, a community that is financially stable and more than stable to not pay its fair share is very troubling as a citizen, not just of Orange, but as of Cuyahoga County. We use the Metro Parks, we use the county libraries. There are many benefits, well, not our sewer systems, but water, things of that nature. Those are all paid by county funds in some way. And allowing an exception for Pulte and residents who are benefiting from this at the detriment of the county as a whole seems vile, honestly. I haven't even looked at really the letters that were sent. I do believe these were sent via email to all council members, but just to voice the frustration, really it is why we've agreed to. I would ask if I could have a few more minutes only, or one more minute, really just because I have two neighbors who couldn't be here. And
If somebody would like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
thank you.
I'm going to give you 2 more minutes, please.
Thank you very much. Yes, sorry, I'm very bad at that.
I'm sorry, the law director has a point. We should call a vote on the motion in the second, sorry. And then we'll start your timing.
Bilski.
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Kurland.
Yes.
Allner. Boyle. Perry.
Yes, thank you. You have 2 more minutes.
Okay, thank you. I think the concern also, looking at the letters that were provided, and just for the record, these letters were provided to me by Leanne Corrigan, who's at 255 Orange Tree Drive, and Kate Diodaldo, who's at 225 Orange Tree Drive. A lot of it has to do with the trust in Pulte, their inability to follow through with the various promises they made from the beginning, whether it be that tree line, which here, one more motorcycle. The tree line has destroyed, all those trees have increased the highway noise significantly, to the detriment of already Orange Village residents. A lot of the letter has to do with the lack of trust in what Pulte promises to do and along with what council is allowing them to do. They want an understanding of what these funds would be used for. Is it specifically for the Pulte and Canyons area? What is the value, the property tax value that's being diverted, and how many years? And whether or not the school district has been notified of this fact, if they are truly exempt from this. One of the issues is also the timing, and this is coming from Kate Diodaldo. The timing of the request is particularly troubling. Residents are questioning whether Pulte has complied with the conditions of development and whether the village has adequately protected its existing residents. She does not believe that the provider should provide the developer additional financial benefit before the concerns are resolved. I know there's a long list of concerns that Pulte has in their development has met the requirements of the city's, Your Honor, or city, sorry. I'm also in front of a judge this morning.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Did you sign in, please? Thank you. I'm sorry, what? Yep, send them, actually, either to me or to Anna. Hi, Mr.
Hi.
Spitz. Your 3 minutes is starting.
Yeah, this is specifically about the TIF, and I just have a hard time understanding that Orange, as one of the wealthiest communities in the area, is talking about taking tax dollars away from county services like the Human Health Service Fund, the County Board of Developmental Disabilities, the Cuyahoga County Public Library, the Cuyahoga Community College, and the Cleveland Metro Parks to benefit Pulte so they could pay for the roads they're building in a development behind us? I don't think this should be even a debate. Why would we give away tax dollars that could be used for better services to the surrounding county? Residents of Orange should be outraged. The whole county should be. But I expect the mayor will claim that without this TIF to pay for the developments of private roads and the infrastructure, the development would not move forward and all the value from it would be lost. This isn't believable because we are surrounded by many big developments in Orange School District, such as Sterling Lakes, the Lux, and other ones, which require private roads and other infrastructures to be built, and they did so all without a TIF. You can't make the argument that this project won't happen if the TIF isn't approved, as they already bought the land and they started construction. I was told that the developmental agreement limited the amount the city would have to pay towards these infrastructures to the cost of $450,000, plus the cost to access the easement to tie it across the Jacobs Group property to connect utilities into Orange Place. However, once the development is built, this TIF will generate way more money every year for the next 30 years. If the city made a deal for $500,000, it shouldn't be a big deal. I mean, the city at this point has to eat that money. It's not right. I hope if any elected official realizes that if they support this TIF, they can never complain about other groups hijacking money meant for the city or its schools, and they can never try to claim they care about these important county agencies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spitz. Anybody else? And we're going to move on. Our next order of business is ordinance 2026-23, an ordinance amending subsection A of section 509.08, construction hours of Chapter 509, Disorderly Conduct and Peace Disturbance of the Codified Ordinances of Orange Village to prevent exterior construction work which is audible from a neighboring property from commencing before 8 a.m. on weekdays and declaring an emergency. I would like to request a suspension of the rules. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Stacy? Anna, will you call the roll for the suspension?
Bilski,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Vincent, Kurland,
Yes.
Allner, Boyle,
Yes.
Perry.
Yes. I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2026-23. Okay.
I think it's appropriate to read into the minutes the letter that we received today from our village engineer.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to take exception to that. This is a letter, just like letters sent by residents, and it can be entered into the record just like anything else. Meanwhile, council members have received that letter, and we've all been able to consider it.
I did not receive it.
Take the motion first.
Yep, and I think we can take a motion, Judd, and open it up for discussion and then talk about it. So I made a motion.
Second.
And you seconded it, Stacy.
Your motion is to what? To,
Passage.
Adopt 2026-23.
okay, sorry, I just want to make sure that I was clear, because he said something else. And
Can I see that letter? And can you talk about it a little bit?
Copy at your desk, Lisa.
Right in front of you. It's that letter.
Thank you. I didn't get it.
Brian Mader is not only our engineer, but serves as engineers for other municipalities in the area. The starting time for construction at 8 a.m. Is very unusual for all municipalities that they represent have starting times at 7 a.m. Construction seasons, particularly in Cleveland, are limited, and projects, particularly municipal or projects like road work, have short time frames to complete their work, and contractors start early to complete projects as quickly as possible, so they're able to move on to the next project. One of the things that often happens, particularly where they're doing paving, is they may not stop paving, and I can certainly acknowledge Bob Zugan and his team as we're undergoing a number of paving projects right now. The job really at 5:30 or 6 o'clock. It stops when the material is no longer available, or the job is completed. And having sufficient time in which to do that work is absolutely appropriate. And limiting that not only restricts that, but also lengthens the time it takes to get projects done. Contractors and builders often will platoon their teams in order to take full advantage of longer days, particularly in the summer here in Cleveland, when they can work extended periods of time to be more productive and get the work done. At the end of the day, we want the job to be completed and the contractor's gone sooner than letting it drag out for the extra hours that it takes to produce a job. So I think it's appropriate to acknowledge Brian's commentary on this and take that into consideration in your consideration of this ordinance.
I'd like to speak directly to that. I take great offense to this letter by Brian Mader, which should be entered into the public record so that residents can see what our engineer has said. First of all, I don't care what other municipalities that he represents do. That's irrelevant. We are our own municipality, and we can do what we want. And our contractors will have to abide by the rules that we set. We are here, and we should be concerned about the mental health and the welfare of our residents. It has become abundantly clear by the debacle that the Canyons has been, that 8 a.m. start time is appropriate, and they're lucky that I haven't tried to work for 9 a.m., to be honest with you. I will also say, his letter also says, for most working activities, these are short-lived inconveniences. Roofing projects last 2 to 3 days and done for 25, and are done for 25 years. Grass cutting lasts less than an hour. For major municipal projects, we are on roadways once every 20 plus years. We have children living in this development, and we all want to talk about how this is a short-lived project because it's only going to last 5 or 6 years. That's a third of their life. Their childhood has been disrupted. People cannot even enjoy their time with their families. Can you imagine not being able to go home to your home after a long day at work and have some peace and quiet in your home, which should be your castle, it should be your place of peace, and you can't get peace? It is abundantly clear to me, because it's done in other places, that an 8 a.m. start time is very doable. And that houses will get built. It will happen. They will get it done. As of last week, I know that we had enough votes to pass this, and I respectfully request that my fellow council members please consider our residents and pass and vote for the 8 a.m. start time.
Of note, if I may, too, we also talked about the possibility that where there needs an adjustment or a change for something like the water lines or the roads, that's a different story than something that's profitable and being built to profit entities. I was over in Orange Tree this weekend, and I was there on a Sunday when it wasn't being built, and it was disruptive enough just to see what they were going through, and with the rains coming in and everything else. I wholeheartedly, since the beginning, have supported the 8 a.m. At the start of everybody's day, this is not what you want to wake up to, is the beeping and the horns and the motors and everything else that goes into it. At least start your day on a peaceful note. As your kids are going off to school, or for those who are working from home, and there are so many of them, or for our seniors that want to just have a peaceful morning of coffee or whatever. I also concur with the 8 a.m. start, please.
Anybody else want to comment?
Just the last thing, and Mayor, you can, my recollection is that the ordinance allows you to kind of opt out of it, is there? Yeah, so I mean, if while, you know, I respect Mayor's concerns or whatever his comments are, we elected you the mayor, you can make that decision, but I think what is before council makes sense for not just canyons, while that's something that does matter, and it's certainly on our minds. There will be another project that other neighbors will live next to, and I think it's appropriate that they know what the rules are when they start. And again, I think we come back to the concept that, look, there will always be development. We all understand that, but this is a community based on residents. It is a bedroom community of residents, and our primary business is the people that live here. And to that extent, that's where our focus should be. I want them to be able to build the houses, as you said, that will get built, but I also want to recognize that the residents are really our business, and that's really what we should be paying attention to. So I will join you in supporting this.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to change it to 7 a.m.?
To 8
a.m.
Let's go with 8 and move from there.
That's already on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If, I know, is
So you have a motion
there,
and a second to adopt, and that's,
Yeah, that's where we're at.
we could call the roll, or somebody could make a motion to,
All the rules. No, let's just call the roll.
Yep.
this would
we
change
could
it
just
to
vote. Is everybody ready to vote?
Yes.
And you can vote however you want. Anna, call the roll, please.
Okay. Bilski,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
Kurland? Yes.
Allner, Boyle, Perry.
Yes. Great. The motion passed, and from now on, contractors will be starting after 8 a.m.
To add a comment, just to anyone who might be listening or for in the newspaper, wherever, please make sure residents tell your landscapers, tell people that are working for you, so that people aren't hearing about this months later and then getting ticketed or whatever as a result. Please let people know that the start time is now effective immediately.
Also, when people come in for permits, they'll be notified, okay?
I think this village knows who has permits. I think a quick email to the companies that hold permits is easily enough.
Communication of it is really key in this.
But to be clear, they can't work on anything that causes noise. They can work all day, 24 hours if they're like
It
painting.
has to be
So,
machine noise that is disturbing. Okay, can we move on?
Thank you.
Next is ordinance 2026-24, an ordinance ordinance enacting Chapter 374, Powered Personal Transportation Device Regulations for the use of electric bicycles and electric scooters on village streets and recreation trails, repealing certain ordinances and declaring an emergency. This is on for first reading. And, I wonder if council is interested in setting up another committee to study this topic. We used to have a safety committee, and I think that this is very good use of our committee system to take this to committee to study. If somebody would like to volunteer from this committee to chair a safety committee to study this.
You were going to ask for a suspension of the rules. I would have voted for that.
A lot of study, actually. It's a complicated topic.
I disagree.
Volunteering, right?
Not. I don't want. I'm ready to vote again.
I'm ready to vote. I would vote against this. I don't believe that we need to be, I don't,
In a committee.
I don't know why we think the government has to have ordinances for every single thing that people do. It's just not, I mean, the ordinances that we currently have wouldn't cover that. I don't know. I guess you don't want to vote now, that's fine, because it's first reading and we wouldn't be voting now anyway. I don't see the purpose in having this ordinance at all.
Can Chief Roberts or the mayor give an overview of, this is a very extensive listing of things, and I know you've already looked at it extensively. Can somebody give an overview of what this is before we move forward?
This has come about because we're finding our recreational trails inundated with people on e-bikes riding at very high rates of speed. In some cases, young kids without helmets on. The other day, I literally chased in my car an individual riding an e-scooter at 40 miles an hour.
On the trail or the street?
They were going back and forth on the trail and the streets. Not only it's a danger to themselves, but it's a danger to others, and we recognize that. We have not seen any horrifying accidents yet that other communities have seen from e-bikes and e-scooters that are being operated improperly. But this has come up. I've had people send me numerous emails, as much as you all get them from others, about we've got to do something about these devices. They're on our recreational trails with people walking kids in prams and older people walking with walkers. I see Jeff Lyken with his walker if he's on the e-trail, on the recreational trail. I hate to see him encounter an e-bike because they're the kids. And I also saw kids riding on the street with multiple kids on these e-bikes, and they're just not operating safely. And we need to get them under better control. And so I asked both Steve Byron and Chief Roberts to get together and look at what other communities are doing and to create a set of rules for Orange Village that are appropriate for our community and our trails.
Didn't we have a rule years ago about motorized vehicles on the trails? Whole thing, I remember a whole conversation about it.
Right. There was conversation, and motorized vehicles are not permitted on the trails. E-bikes are not considered motorized vehicles under Ohio law. So that's what this does, is this, in part, this is gap filling in terms of where the law is. We currently prohibit people from riding bikes or riding e-bikes from operating in violation of traffic laws. So you have to stop at stop signs and do those things. What we don't pick up are scooters. So if a scooter just blows through a stop sign and doesn't pay attention to it, that's not a violation of your laws or ordinances. And there's some other things that are in here that you'll see, the authority to stop and requiring protective helmets. A lot of this stuff has been at the recommendation of the police department, and I'd like the chief to comment on law enforcement's view of the proposed ordinance and whether or not you think this might need benefit from further study.
I do think it'll benefit from further study. That's why we've been deliberating over it as long as we have. We've been talking about this for over a year now. Look, we want all of our youth and anybody really to get the maximum use out of these trails. But you have these e-bikes that are capable of moving up to 200 pounds of mass at 40 miles an hour silently. And then we can't be surprised when somebody gets maimed or killed if we don't try and intervene in some level. And my only input is whatever we land on, if anything, that it's enforceable. I don't have a fleet of officers that I can dedicate to sidewalk patrol. So they would have to be able to recognize a violation from the road on their standard patrols. So that's where I was heavily involved. The police department, we know we work for this body, and this body gets to decide what it governs, what legislation it passes, and my 2 cents is for safety and enforceability. So I'm happy to work with any committee on a proper solution.
I'm just concerned that we are trying to take over the role of parents, because the comments that I hear are talking about kids, and parents need to parent. And there are consequences if you do not parent. You can have liability. You need to parent. We all need to parent our kids.
Unfortunately, we can't trust parents to parent the way that we might want to parent. And as Chief Roberts alluded to, well, no, I think, especially when you're riding on the trails and these scooters do come up behind you, and black people are walking with earpods and they can't hear the scooter coming behind them. And if you got some kid coming up behind you going 25 miles an hour on the sidewalk and you're just out like joyriding, listening to a podcast, it's a dangerous situation. I don't know. I'm very down on scooters, e-bikes, all of that. I think they're incredibly unsafe. And I hear from my wife, who's a nurse at Rainbow, about the incredible number of injuries that she sees every single week of kids who are in critical condition because they came in with injuries. It's not something that I want. They can go places. I have to take my mountain bike certain places to go ride because the Cleveland Metro Parks puts limitations on what I'm allowed to do with my bike on their trails. I don't know.
I'm disturbed by your comment a minute ago that we need to essentially parent for parents. And look, I don't want anyone to get hurt. I want people to ride responsibly. I'm actually not a huge fan of this machinery, but I'm also not a huge fan of big government meddling in people's family affairs or in how they raise their kids. And certain times, if we have laws that already address something, we ought to stick with those. Or if we want to fine tune the law, okay. And I also don't appreciate when we have a law that's targeting kids. There are adults that use these as well. And my God, we do nothing for our kids in this community as it is.
This is not just.
I understand.
Applicable to kids.
Yeah, I understand. But those were the comments that were behind it.
Comments over here?
I'm just a little confused. I thought we had something on the books that said about if they go up to a certain speed or there are certain, didn't we have something like that already?
The state has a whole class system, 1, 2, and 3. 3 aren't allowed on any sidewalk anywhere. Every operator has to wear a helmet, no matter age. And then the 1 and 2 are allowed on certain sidewalks, but it's very hard for an officer on patrol to look at a bike going down the trail and go, that's a class 1, that's a class 2. They are marked. Manufacturers are required to have them marked, but that's a secondary offense type situation where we can't pull you over on the trail and go, tell me what class this is. So my whole thing is it's got to be enforceable. So if we can't tell what we're looking at, how am I going to enforce it? I basically have to wait for a disaster and find out if you were in compliance or not. And that, to me, is not a safe way to do that. But again, I wait for an opportunity to help create meaningful legislation, and then we will enforce what you guys pass.
I think that when some of these laws were written, e-bikes weren't as advanced as they are now, and it's kind of the evolution of the machinery that's used on roads and streets and stuff. And so as that evolves, safety needs to evolve with the equipment that's being used in our city, on our streets. I think safety as our body is one of our paramount jobs. And while I agree with Lisa that we should not be parents for everybody, as a body, we have to have safety involved for the community. So I have no problem with legislation that fine-tunes, that moves with technology.
Okay. And
Want anyone to think that we're trying to tell them how to parent. There's a lot of different ways to parent. I do think that there's a lack of education about these vehicles and how dangerous they can be. And I don't know how to educate our community so that they know that, the safest ways. I agree that we shouldn't wait for a disaster, and definitely we need to look into how can we get the word out there. But I'd love to have signs that there's no motorized or electric vehicles on the trails. And again, are you going to make exceptions? Yeah, if some person's in an electrified wheelchair. That seems like we need to have an exception for something like that. But
Anybody with a disability using a mobility device is exempt. That's the ADA. We're not going there at all. That's not the intent here. It's recreational use, high-speed, silent vehicles. I think in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, we went through this with mopeds, and we quickly regulated it. I don't know if that's a fair comparison. That's for you guys to decide. But again, we're ready and willing to be part of your solution here. However, we can be helpful.
So if I can just, I think all has been said, just not by all. To kind of close it out, we're at the beginning of the conversation on the issue, so I think it's a good starting point. But there are a lot of moving parts to this. An idiotic set of rules in Columbus that does nothing. That is, it's not. If you think the people in Columbus are doing a terrible job, you're right, and this is a perfect example of it. It's unenforceable, and I'm led to believe by design. But if you think that this is only about the kids, you're wrong. Where I work in another community, a neighbor backing out her driveway hit a kid driving one of these things. And why did he hit him? Because you can't hear it, because it doesn't make any noise. And it doesn't move like a bicycle because it's going 35 miles an hour down the road. So it's not just about kids. And when you talk about parenting, I don't think it's parenting to say that a 14-year-old isn't allowed to drive a car. That's the law. And so to that extent, having an aspect saying that hey, we're not going to let, and these things go 35, 40 miles an hour, some of them. So we have to do something, and it has to be something comprehensive, understandable, and enforceable. Just to let you know that today I spoke to the president of the city council in Westlake, and I spoke to the law director in Westlake, because this conversation, thanks to Ed, has been broadcast in the media. They were calling because a 9-year-old in their community on an e-bike with no helmet crashed into a fire hydrant and was life-flighted out of there. So, yeah, it's bad parenting around, but it's also a kid who's now got whatever level of fractured orbital and an ungodly amount of medical bills to deal with it. So something has to be, there has to be a conversation that happens. And those conversations, better now than ever, and I've talked to the chief about these, and we discussed, I know there was an incident in Pepper Pike, and I thank you for the information on that. And these are just going to come on more and more and more. And I don't know what the state's going to do, but it doesn't preclude us from at least starting the conversation. I think that's what we're doing. So I think it's important. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is on for first reading. Doesn't sound like there's a lot of support to study it, since the chief has studied it extensively for a year and has come up with his best recommendation. Is that correct? Okay. We will talk again about this then next month again. Next is Resolution 2026-4, a resolution delineating overlays in relation to the proposed canyons incentive districts within Orange Village, Ohio, adopting a written economic development plan as to the same, setting the time and place of a public hearing, authorizing and ratifying the giving of notice to the Orange City School District and the Cuyahoga County Council, all pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 5709.40C and its related rules and laws, and declaring an emergency. Mayor, would you like to, I know you have some comments about the TIF.
Well,
It's
I
time
think
for
it's really important, given some of the comments that were made earlier, to enable people to better understand what tax incentive financing really is and how the community benefits from it. Let me begin by saying this. Communities get real estate taxes through the value of the developments that are produced within them. For over 50 years, tax incremental financing has been a tool to enable communities to capture and utilize more of the revenue generated through such projects. By definition, tax incremental financing is the increase in property value based upon the difference between the undeveloped land and fully built-out property. There are full TIFs that include school monies that require the approval of school boards, and non-school TIFs that do not require approval by the school board. In Orange Village, we have a non-school TIF for the Chagrin Highlands South and a full TIF for the Pinecrest and RH Mansion. While RH Mansion is not in the Orange School District, it required Warrensville Heights' approval for that. The TIF funds are generated, may be used for allowed infrastructure improvements by the community in the district where the funds are generated. In the district where the funds are generated. These can apply to roads, water, sewer, and other utilities, traffic management, and other improvements. To this point, I want to share some important and real facts relating to the Omni TIF. First of all, the estimated value over the 30-year period of the TIF collection is $10 million. $2.8 million would come to Orange Village as a part of the development's property taxes on improvements regardless of the TIF. We would get $2.8 million in real estate taxes. $800,000 is to be reimbursed to the builder, Omni/Pulte, in accordance with the development agreement for scheduled infrastructure improvements. And this includes sewers, water lines, road, other road improvements that are approved under the ordinance and under the legislation. These are limited to that number, and that's the limit of what they will get. $2.4 million of that $10 million will continue to go to the county for library, metro parks, health and human services, all things that we all support and believe in. The county is not being shortchanged in any way. The remainder of that, if you add those numbers up, it comes up to about $6 million. There's a remaining $4 million that would be generated from the value of this property over its 30-year life, and that can be used to address future costs for public improvements by Orange Village in the area, or the option is Orange either captures that money and utilizes it for purposes that we can apply it within the code, or it goes away and we don't get the value of it. We've created the opportunity for this to happen, and we've done it in other instances because it benefits the village. TIFs offer a great means to capture value created by the capital invested here. In order for us to gain the full value of the development for all of 2026, we need to pass this legislation by November. If we fail to do so, we lose the entire value that was created in 2026 from the startup in 2025. It's in our interest It's not the developer making money. The infrastructure that's being put in is infrastructure that the village would otherwise have to put in for any development that it might undertake doing. And it's done and reimburses the developer for that portion of the work that qualifies under the TIF legislation. So I hope that that's helpful for people to really understand what this means. Orange Village will get $4 million of that money over the 30-year period that it would not otherwise get without a tax incremental financing in place for that project and associated with that project.
I have a question. What would happen to the $4 million? You said the Orange Village wouldn't get it. Would that just not be paid by homeowners? What happens to the $4 million otherwise?
The thing that's important to know is the residents outside of the development aren't paying those real estate taxes. The development's paying those real estate taxes. So those taxes, those additional taxes that are generated through the TIF are going, then just go to the county for their use however they see fit, and Orange may or may not get benefit from it.
So the new homeowners, new residents, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to understand it. So the new residents who live in the canyons will pay their property taxes at their assessed value, just like everybody else does. Okay. And that money, that $4 million over 30 years would have gone to the county?
The county would take that money because it would go to them.
Don't wait a minute.
I'm just trying to understand this.
It's property tax, and property tax goes in the same manner as everything.
Jim?
You're talking to the.
Jim?
I'm sorry. I mean, so look, it goes in the same manner as any other taxes that are paid in. There's a certain breakdown. It goes to schools. It goes to the community. It goes here.
Jim, I'm sorry.
Here. It goes to the county. It goes. I mean, there are a variety of governmental entities that it goes to. So it's you know, and here, and I don't want to belabor it, but look, the reality is there's a limited amount of money, and so to that extent, this November, all of us are going to be asked to vote on. At least, we already, Steve, you got the same list that I did about the levies that are on the ballot. Health and Human Services, the county Health and Human Services are asking for a levy, $196 per $100,000 of value. So you got a $100,000 or $500,000 house, you're losing $1,000 bucks. Developmental disabilities is on the ballot this November as well, looking for $79 per $100,000. And then, I don't know, next year, I think Metro Parks and Metro Hospital are both on there. So the concept, and the county is now contesting these as well. So there's a lot of moving parts in this conversation, but I think that what we're going to have is a full and honest conversation here in public about what is happening here and how this community wants to engage in reasonable development and reasonable expectation from the people that come into our communities.
The important thing to note here, Jim, is that this money's not going to the developer. The developer is
That's not true either, Judd. There's $400,000 right out the box it's going.
Or 50.
$100,000 for building infrastructure that, should we develop something, would need to have anyways.
Well, all right, well, those can be part of the conversation. We're on for first reading, so I think we've read it once, and,
Reading its resolution.
Vote tonight.
well, okay, even better, I'm ready.
In fact, I'm going to make a motion.
Hold on, because I do have something I'd like to put into the record before we get to that point, which is, so I submitted several questions to the law director in advance of this meeting, because as the newest council member here, I was not present when the development agreement was entered. So, and the first time that I'd seen or had a chance to digest the development agreement was last week, and so I submitted various questions to the law director for response. Sent them in yesterday, and I don't have any response. Now, again, I'm not here to belabor the issue, but if the expectation is a vote on this thing today, there's no way I'm voting for this thing. There's just zero chance of that happening. But, you know, I had outstanding, I'll read the questions into the record. If you want to answer them, we can right now, but I am frantically attempting to get up to speed on the contents of the development agreement regarding the Canyons project. I have a few questions regarding the TIF language. On page 7, paragraph 6, it reads that the village council will consider 2 TIF ordinances. I do not see that these ordinances have passed, that they passed prior to my arrival on council. If so, can you send me copies of these pieces of legislation? 2, if the 2 pieces of legislation have not been approved yet, what are council's obligation? As I read it, the council only is required to, quote, consider the legislation, not required to approve. Is the project contingent on the TIF being approved? 3, has the TIF been approved by council? What votes has council taken on this matter? 4, and the $4 million today was quite different than the $10 million that I heard the other day, which I don't know what happened to the other 6. Where is the 10 million figure coming from? There's no, I do not see it in the agreement, nor is there any reference to any 4 million either, by the way. 5, there has been ongoing discussion that the property tax itself may be repealed in the state of Ohio. How would that play out if it were repealed? And I got no answers to any of those things. So, I mean, look, if we want to go forward on this, God bless you. I mean, you're down 1-6, so the rest of you can figure it from there.
To say that I really was hoping for a clarification on the TIF, especially with the conversations that have been had in our neighborhood chat about it, and it seemed to be counter to what I thought the TIF was about. And so I was hoping for that things would be clear here, but I honestly feel like Judd's comments made it less clear to me. Like I really had an understanding from last week's conversations that was very different. And just like Jim, I heard $10 million versus like $500,000, and that's a big difference from 800 versus 4 million.
It's 450.
450. Okay, right. 450 versus 450 for a developer and 10 million over 30 years for the village is what we had heard. And now what I'm hearing is 800 for the developer and 4 million for the village. And that's just a very big jump in numbers. And so, and maybe, I don't know where I'm not understanding.
Can you clarify those numbers for us?
Once again, and I went over these today with both Matt Stasinski, who is our advisor for these TIF programs, and with Dana. And the numbers, quite simply, the $10 million that was identified last week was the total available funds that would become available over the 30 years. Of those, there are other costs that would be taken against them. First of all, would be if we didn't do anything, we would get $2.8 million, correct me if I'm wrong, Dana, $2.8 million in tax revenue that would come to Orange as part of the development's property taxes on the improvements regardless of the TIF.
On the land if left as is?
As the land is developed.
Okay.
Okay? We have a commitment in the development agreement. If you read it, Jim, you'll see there was a schedule that was an exhibit included in the development agreement that identified all of the specific costs that the village's part of the TIF would pay for, that included 2 tranches of funds of $436,000 and $456,000 and $235,000, plus the connection for to the utilities in the Orange Place South.
Yeah, you're looking at Exhibit F.
Then $2.4 million would come out of that funding to go to the county for library, Metro Parks, health and human services, all of the things that we pay for as a community into the county. There are no funds going away from the schools because this is a non-school TIF. It doesn't affect the money that, the real estate money that would go, the real estate tax money that goes to the school district. And the remainder of that is $4 million that would go to Orange Village for the purposes that Orange Village could use it for public improvements in the area. And that's what it's for. Those are the numbers. It's pretty simple.
So if I'm hearing you, then does that mean if there was not a TIF, that basically is just $4,800,000 that would not be pulled out of the general amount that goes into the county? Because that's the that's the $4 million you're talking about, and the other stuff you're saying is already going to the county, and that 2.8 was already going to come to the village whether we did a TIF or not. I don't understand it, but that's what you said a few minutes ago.
If the TIF isn't passed, if we don't enact the TIF, Orange Village would be receiving $2.8 million in tax revenue from real estate tax for that property. Okay? We're not sure of what and I'm clarifying that with Consul about the obligation on the $800,000. I think that goes away. We don't have an obligation if the TIF doesn't pass, because it's part of the TIF money.
So I thought,
The rest of the money goes to the county irrespective.
are we required to pass this?
No, you can't bargain away your legislative authority. So there is a provision that says council will consider, and you're doing that. If I could make a recommendation, the legislation this evening does not enact to TIF. It allows the process to keep moving forward, the notices to be given to the county and the school district that are required under law. And so what I would recommend is, in order to keep your options open and to attempt to be in a position to comply with what the agreement called for, which would benefit Orange Village, and I don't know the numbers, I went to law school because I can't do math, but if it's $4 million, it's $4 million, and you know, a no vote on the TIF would be not taking advantage of that $4 million, which the previous administration put these similar TIFs into effect for the Chagrin Highlands South, where the brewery is and the restaurants there are, and we did something similar to the RH building where the village is capturing funds for that. My understanding is that some communities, and I'm familiar, or I've heard that Strongsville is one of them, does a TIF on everything that's coming into the community, and not in school TIF, and in that way is able to enhance funds for infrastructure, which is a core municipal function. But all I'm suggesting is that by voting in favor of the resolution this evening, you keep your options open.
I'm going to make a motion to table this to the next meeting. And my reasoning is that there's a few things going on here. One, I appreciate getting the law director's legal advice on what we are legally required to do. I do not appreciate the law director contributing to the policy discussion. I don't think it's appropriate. Two, I am woman enough to admit when I need more education about something and I need to understand something better. I am trying to understand this. Previously, I understood that we were, quote, legally obligated to pass this, but when I read the development agreement, on page 7, paragraph 6, I see on line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that we are required to consider 2 ordinances. And that's very different from the verbiage which would say shall do something. Because, for example, on page 4, I see the tree preservation plan for SD3 shall include a plan for the preservation and protection of existing trees in natural areas, blah, 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 blah. And those located on Jackson Road, quote, the Jackson Road Preservation Zone. So obviously, when the agreement was drafted, shall was a known word. People could use it. So I'm not understanding the obligations that we have as council members. And I want to make sure that I also fully understand the TIF And I'm gathering that I'm not the only one who has some confusion.
I'd like to add to that too, and the reason I seconded it is I do want to delineate between the distrust of Pulte right now and the real dollar benefit to Orange Village down the line. And I totally respect the number of residents. I think I received 18 emails today that I was able to just open to see what the topic was before we came here. And I respect the time and effort put into those emails by our residents. And I'd like to at least get those questions answered before making a decision to move forward. I think it's really important to hear those answers to those questions, not only from all of us, but for our residents too. So I will second that motion to table.
We have a motion to table and a second, correct? Yes. Anna, will you call the roll?
Bilski,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
Kurland,
Yes.
Allner, Boyle,
Yes.
Perry.
Yes, thank you.
So I have a question though. How can we get because if we're hearing something very different this week than we heard last week, I would love somebody who's an expert on TIFs perhaps to come and discuss it with us.
We will have Price Finley.
Recommend Matt Stasinski also, who's the numbers guy. What's that? Either one was available this evening, but
I wanted to have them here tonight, but both are out of town and were not available. So at the next meeting, I will have both available.
And they need to make a presentation in layman's terms so that it's not just for us, but everybody, also everybody.
Well, we are laymen.
We are laymen.
In this, I'm a,
Layman, I meant. I didn't mean to not say we weren't.
yes.
So our
To understand.
next meeting, September 2nd, and we expect those two professionals to also, if they even want to put information to council members in writing before that, that's even more
I
helpful.
would appreciate that. I would very much appreciate in writing in advance.
Especially if we're going to be expected to vote.
They're gonna be here.
Dana, will you ask Matt to put something in writing before that meeting? Thank you.
Dead date when we need to have resolution by?
To decide on the resolution by September 2nd, I think.
that evening would be the last chance you'd have to do it.
Yep. Remember
Together, along with a fact sheet with answers to the questions that have been raised both tonight and in all of these emails, and get that out to us prior to September 2nd so that we have a chance to assess that before going into that meeting if we have to vote that night. That would be appreciated.
Yes.
And I also encourage council, if you have questions that can be answered before that meeting, to address them to them, but not to all of us. They can come prepared to address them. Okay, we're going to move on.
Copy me on your questions, those questions.
I sent them to the law director. Actually, I sent them to Steve and, what's the other?
Paul, and we got you a response, we got you the traffic study that you wanted, and the other ones, we're hampered because the TIF issues are for Price Finley, and he's been out of town, and that delays us being.
Steve, let me push, I mean, the basic ones here, and I can't divulge some of them I could, I guess, the conversations of the executive session, but I left the executive session, and I'll speak for myself and not everybody else. I was pretty clear in the conversation that I thought it was insane that a community would want to move forward on a residential TIF that adds 0 jobs to the community, and it is a non-brownfield piece of property. I go, I've never heard of such a thing. Doesn't mean it can't exist in some fairy tale or people that do stupid things. I don't think we're either of those people. So I left there with the understanding that this was a baked into the agreement, that this is what happened, and this was the next step, and that what we were dealing with. That's why I sent those questions to you, Steve, because I left that meeting last time with this, no, this is done. And I remember saying, look, sometimes as a council member, we have to plug our nose and vote for something because it's an obligation that we have, that it's baked into the conversation. And now, quite frankly, that's not where we're at. And I view that this is starting over from a real firm base level conversation of, is this something that we want to do? And look, I got to vote on this thing today. I am not going to vote for a TIF for a residential area at a non-developed area of 271. It's crazy. They can build this thing on their own. They don't need us, and we don't need them. You know, nobody's tiffing my next door neighbor's new house. So look, we can deal with it, and we'll deal with it as it unfolds.
We can move on. We can talk about this next month. What many people have been waiting for, audience comments relating to matters which advance the good of the village. Sign in after your comments. Minutes, and you'll hear the alarm go off.
Thank you all for your patience.
What do you mean? It's been very exciting.
You are limited to 3 minutes.
Do our best.
Thank you.
There are handouts to go with this. They're coming around. Good evening, Mayor and Village President.
Mic closer.
Oh, sorry. I'm used to running around a room. I'm a teacher. Good evening, Council President, Mayor, and the rest of the council and the community members here today. My name is Marie O'Leary Stark. I live at 29340 Hidden Valley Drive. I've lived here for 25 years. I have two graduates of Orange Schools, and I'm here today to bring you some information about the levy coming up in November, Orange Schools levy coming up in November. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Orange Schools if you don't already know about them from the view of my two kids. My kids graduated in 2017 and 2019, cutting some things out due to my 3 minutes. My son Jeremy graduated in 2017. He went on to earn a mechanical engineering degree from Purdue University. He now writes simulation programs for land vehicles. I asked him to put something together about why he was particularly proud of Orange Schools. He said, "Orange helped prepare me for the future by giving me the opportunity to learn real-world engineering and manufacturing practices through their FRC robotics team. It also gave me the opportunity to practice and improve my leadership, project planning, multidisciplinary team management, and problem solving under pressure. Time and time again, both in college and the professional world, this experience has given me a competitive edge to excel when others have fallen short." My daughter graduated with an undergrad degree from NYU, and she's currently getting a PhD in evolutionary anthropology at UC Davis. She told me that Orange fostered an environment of high academic rigor. She loved that Orange Schools regarded the arts, music, and athletics as seriously as the academics. She loved that even though the schools were smart, they offered things that many of the larger schools didn't even offer, like Latin. We're one of the only 2 public schools that offers Latin, for some of you that might not know that. The slides, you have handouts in front of you, will go along with what I have to present today. If you look at slide 2. Orange Schools is asking voters to approve a $5 million operating levy this November. This is the district's first request for a new operating funding in 15 years. Take a look at slide 3. 15 years is a long time. During that time, Orange Schools has continued to provide an exceptional education, while the cost of operating our schools has steadily increased. Like districts,
Time is up, and
I respectfully ask for more time.
Motion to continue the time.
okay, I'll give you 2 more minutes.
Don't we have to vote?
We have to, wait, I'm sorry.
I'm
We
sorry.
do have to vote. I keep forgetting that. Anna, please call the roll.
Bilski,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
Kurland,
Yes.
Allner, Boyle,
Yes.
Perry.
Yes. Your time starts now.
Okay. Like districts across Ohio, Orange has experienced rising costs for salaries, healthcare, transportation, utilities, instructional materials, technology, student support services, and school safety. At the same time, revenue has not kept pace with those increasing costs. Orange has relied on
fiscal responsibility, along with residential and commercial growth, to delay returning to taxpayers for additional operating funding. After 15 years, however, those measures are no longer enough. That is why Orange is asking voters to consider this levy now. Many people understandably ask, if home values have increased so much over the last several years, why doesn't the school district automatically receive more money? House Bill 920 protects property owners from automatic tax increases by reducing the effective tax rate on existing voted levies after a property reappraisal. As a result, existing levies continue to generate approximately the same revenue from existing properties. That means Orange schools cannot rely on rising property values to increase operating revenue. Instead, the district relies primarily on voter-approved operating levies and revenue generated by new residential and commercial construction to keep pace with increasing costs. Because of that, Orange had only two choices: reduce expenses wherever possible or ask voters for additional operating funding. The district has made efforts to curb spending. Outline are in the levy, in the packet I've given you. Those decisions reflect a commitment to being responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. Even with these efforts, revenues have grown more slowly than expenditures.
You can submit your further comments to this council,
Okay.
but for now, we have to move on.
Right, thank you. And there are 3 board members here in the audience today. If you'd like to ask questions afterwards, we would love it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Elizabeth, please say your name and.
I needed
You know, that won't buy you more time, but.
Above it, not above a bribe.
You have to warn the elected. I do
Or
have to
above a bribe.
warn officials, if you think that that would influence your vote on
I
anything.
can't eat
please
it.
don't.
Have you had them, Steve, please? My name's Elizabeth Buck. I live on Emery Road, just down the street. I am here on behalf of the Orange Community Farmers Market to respectfully submit dates for 2027 market. We're trying to get the jump on some of the vendors that we've lost to other markets. We've already had 2 of them commit. I did run the dates by Anna to make sure that they were not in conflict with other calendar items. Since she keeps track of all of us in so many ways, thank you, Anna. I ran them also by Stacy Vincent because we are under the Arts and Culture Committee, and Councilwoman Vincent is the chair of that committee. So the dates that I'd like to propose for 2027 are consistent with the second Saturday that we've been doing this year that's been very successful. June 12th, July 10th, August 14th, September 11th, and we would like to do something commemorative of that time. Obviously, that date is very meaningful to all of us. And October 9th. We have a May date, but that will be at the rec at Orland. We partner with the rec center for the dates because our weather's really iffy, as we all know, being Ohioans. So those are the dates that we would like. They, for now, don't conflict with anything on the calendar. And additionally, I really want to thank Bob Zugan for all of your help. Chief DeNova, we've loved having the firemen there the last 2 markets. They've been great. And man, anytime anything happens, they're like, can we help? Can we help? So we've really enjoyed them. If they want to come all the time, we'd love to have them. And any of the other committees that all of you are part of, please feel free to give myself or Stacy, who's in the audience as well, a heads up, and we will get you a table. Well, Bob will get you a table, but we'll get you space. No problem. And I also want to thank the members of council, Kurland and Vincent and Mayor Klein and Perry, who have come to the market so religiously and been such great constituents of the market. And if the rest of you have been there, you obviously didn't come by granola, shame on you, and that's why I don't know you were there, and if you were, but thank you for coming. So I'm going to be under my 3 minutes, unless there's any questions. Thank you. Bob will get my sign. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Great. Is there anybody else who would like to speak tonight? Yes. Go ahead. Oh, hi, John. John, say your name for everybody for the record and sign in.
No, I'm not.
Your time is starting.
I'm John Loftus, live at 4231 Lander Road. Good evening. There's been a great deal of attention recently regarding escalating utility costs. An article in the July 15th Cleveland Plain Dealer titled, "Prices to Remain Near Their Record Highs After Capacity Auction," discussed the problems of growing demand and lack of supply. The gist of the article, as stated in the headlines, is electric rates are going to remain high for the foreseeable future. I understand there is nothing the village can do about utility prices or change the state's aversion to clean energy or the federal government's decision to eliminate incentives to invest in renewable energy projects. However, the village can take action that will help its citizens invest in clean, alternative home energy projects. To start, the village needs to address the zoning language that discourages the placement of solar panels on their houses. Council engaged in a brief debate on this issue in December of 2025, and the issue was referred to the Sustainability Committee. Since then, I have forwarded some recommended changes to the committee, the mayor, and members of council. It's been 8 months, and I'm unaware of any response to these recommendations. This is not nuclear science. You can either accept the changes, reject them, or change them. I have no pride of authorship, and I'm open to improvements, but it's time to do something. Regarding wind energy, Council President Perry requested legal counsel look into possible zoning language the village could consider. I was able to find language that the city of Cleveland has adopted governing residential wind energy projects and provided it to the mayor. I still have not heard anything regarding this issue. With the proposed improvements to Village Hall and the new fire station, there have been multiple suggestions that wind and solar power should be incorporated into these projects. If that is done, the co-op model could allow village residents to benefit from the economies of scale and get competitive pricing on these home alternative energy projects. I've heard nothing on that either. I understand the limitations faced by the village regarding utility prices, but that does not mean there is nothing the village can do to help its citizens. I would like to see the village help its citizens as fast as it seems to respond to developers' needs. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you, John. Anybody else to speak tonight?
Got one more.
Please state your name and address and,
Hi, Liz Gregory, 454 Crystal Lake Drive. And I'm here listening to the residents of Orange Tree and the problems with Pulte, and I'm brought back to, I think, 2 years ago when it was my neighborhood coming here with the problems with Pulte. And as for good and welfare of the city of Orange, I sincerely ask council, when Pulte comes and proposes another new development, to think about what development after development after development has come to you, and the common denominator is it's Pulte that is causing the issues. Thank you.
thank you. I'd like to speak. Hi, Angela, come on up. State your name and address, please, for everybody. I'm Christy. Don't, everybody needs to, who speaks has to sign.
Give everything to Pulte.
That's,
Hi, my name is Angela Ugrin. I live on Jackson Road, and I have a few comments about several things here. Thank you for invoking time limits at the council meeting. I think it's probably pretty needed, otherwise they can go on pretty long. However, the way that it is being done today appears a little reactionary and targeted and kind of mean, and I don't like that. Regarding the variance of Palooza that is being proposed on the development of the proposed, of the Dead Lobster property, I just feel like if I personally requested 7 variances on my own personal property, I'd probably be denied. So I think that's a very bad idea.
Get in the microphone, please.
Sorry.
Take a move.
Okay.
Tilt it down.
Variance-a-palooza request is what I refer to it as. And I think that if I requested 7 variances on my personal property, I would probably be denied. In regards to the e-bike, Lisa, I respectfully disagree about the discussion up here, because from the audience perspective, it really appeared as though that there was an intent, that people really kind of did want to discuss this a little bit more. I didn't have the full ordinance in front of me, but what's not on the agenda doesn't appear to be complete. There's, there's all sorts of different types of vehicles, hoverboards, unicycles, one-wheeled vehicles, micro wheels, all those kinds of things that are probably, that may not be in this. And I do think that further study is probably in order. And as it relates to the canyons and that development, I would like to see resident concerns prioritized. It certainly appears as though Pulte has lost a lot of credibility in this community, and considering a TIF when a project is already underway, regardless of all the legality and the background in the past, the entire conversation seems really icky. And I will take my cookie. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Anybody else? Okay, then we'll move on to comments.
One more.
Oh, hi, Andrew. Sorry, I didn't see you. Go ahead.
Great. I'm going to be straightforward tonight and be concise. Orange Village Coded Ordinance Section 1174.09 specifically states where deep basins are constructed, protection shall be provided to prevent pedestrians or vehicles from dangers arising from designs of these facilities, including fences, guardrails, or other devices. The important words are protection shall be provided. I have reviewed the approved Phase 2 plans and unfortunately cannot identify a protective fence, guardrail, or warning device around this deep basin. Landscaping scheduled to be planted next year cannot possibly constitute as protection. Currently, we're left with a 2-foot silt construction fence, and that shouldn't be considered adequate either. Section 1143.06C further requires developmental features to be located and related to, quote, minimize the possibility of adverse effects upon adjacent development, end quote. And section 1174.03B10 requires engineering calculations demonstrating adequate stormwater management and, quote, the protection of adjacent properties from stormwater impacts from the development, end quote. For these reasons, I am formally requesting the village to immediately enforce its own ordinances and require the immediate installation of a 10-foot solid protection privacy fence along the southern and eastern borders of the water retention basin for protection. Their basin is not an amenity to Orange Tree development. While New Canyon residents are aware they're purchasing homes with near massive retention basins, Jackson Drive residents were never provided a choice and are actually closer in proximity to the actual canyon residents. We should not be burdened to protect our loved ones from this basin. Now, let's discuss why the Jackson Drive residents had no choice. Despite all the aforementioned ordinances repeatedly referencing adjacent properties, not once did the village mail formal notice to Jackson Drive residents whose property actually adjoins Phase 2. Interestingly enough, the village clearly knows how to notify adjoining residents when it chooses to. On March 13th, 2024, council meeting, while discussing...
I'll make a motion to continue.
A second.
Call the roll.
Thank you. In this council meeting, while discussing...
We have to...
I'm so sorry.
No.
We just have to call the roll.
1 second.
Bilski. Foster.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Kurland. Allner. Boyle.
Yes.
Perry.
Yes, thank you. You have 2 more minutes.
Thank you, I appreciate the flexibility. During this March 13th, 2024 council meeting, while discussing the New Song Church property, Mayor Klein stated that the residents of Moreland Hills will be provided a letter as well concerning the zoning change. Yet in that very same meeting, while discussing the upcoming vote for the Orange Place South Plan development, the mayor promised to protect the residents on Jackson Drive. Moreland Hills neighbors received letters. Jackson Drive, Orange residents never received letters, just empty promises. From the onset of this canyon project, through the town hall meetings, through planning and zoning meetings, and ultimately the approval of a deep Phase 2 stormwater basin directly adjacent to our properties, not once did the village think to send us a formal notice or invite us to these meetings. And finally, I'm going to end my night on something else to chew on. The vote for the Orange Place South District went to public on March 19th of 2024. That following June, roughly 95 days later, the mayor entered into an agreement with Omni to negotiate. By June 22nd, architectural drawings for the fire station are being submitted by the mayor, who is also the planning and zoning commissioner, assigned to negotiate with Omni. Sounds a little conflicted. So my question is simple. On March 19th, residents voted on the Orange Place South District zoning. Less than 3 months later, during a June 12th meeting, approved
I'm sorry, your time's up, but you know what, your points are very important. Can you please,
appreciate it, thank you.
Mr. Spitz, can you please email those to either me or Anna, and we're going to put them in the public record?
Certainly.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? And you should take a cookie. They're delicious. Anybody? Okay, then I welcome everybody to come up and take cookies while we go through our comments. And we'll start with comments by the mayor, please.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, some good news for a change. Lander Road was opened to two-way traffic yesterday afternoon. Paper shredding is this Friday, August 14th at Pepper Pike City Hall from 9 a.m. till noon. There is a 5-bag grocery bag limit. Join us August 15th for a summer concert at the Mulcahy Pavilion in Orange Village Park. Replay, a 7-piece band playing music from the 60s through the 80s, will perform at 6 p.m. I want to update you on the Miles Road Waterline project. Enbridge has completed their gas line mapping finally, and we're able to resume work. All parties agreed the terrace can resume work starting tomorrow, August 13th, and Enbridge will provide an on-site response team as they begin their work going eastward on Miles Road from Brainerd. Some of the road programs that are currently underway, concrete repairs.
Mayor, I'm sorry, just on your comment right before, I know the question has come up. We talked about doing a meeting with Enbridge and remuneration for some of the businesses and residents in the area. Is that meeting scheduled? Can we get that scheduled? Can we still have that meeting?
There's an upcoming meeting with
I'm going to call point of order. You can check that with Judd after the meeting, but let's let him finish his comments.
Okay.
I lost my place. Concrete repairs will continue on Lander Road north of Harvard, Orange Place, and Emery Roads. All areas will remain open with flaggers and will be utilized. Asphalt repairs will begin Friday, August 14th on Orangewood between Lander Road and Beachmont Trail. Are they starting tomorrow?
Anna says that was.
They changed it to tomorrow. So just so everyone knows, they're starting work tomorrow on Orangewood between Lander and Beachmont. Two-way traffic will be maintained whenever possible. However, traffic may be reduced to a single lane and may be closed briefly during construction hours. Orange schools start on Thursday, August 20th. Please drive safely and watch for children and construction work and vehicles. You may not notice because it's dark out, but work is currently underway to repaint and repair the exterior of the Village Hall, and a plan to refresh the interior will begin this fall. I want to thank Elizabeth and her crew for the wonderful farmers and artisan market that we've enjoyed throughout the course of the summer. We'll continue to enjoy into the fall. It's been a spectacular addition to our community, and I can't thank you enough for leading that and work with your fellow members of the Arts and Culture Committee that have produced that. I look forward to it. I had your granola for breakfast today.
Again, really appreciate council's support and how you all made this happen.
It's deserved. I recently sent out the construction status report that I promised to provide on a weekly basis for the residents on Jackson Road, to update them on progress of the Pulte work, what's taken place, what will be taking place in the coming week, and will continue to do so. They will come out on Wednesdays. I also spoke with Pulte with respect to setting up the public work session to discuss the buffer zone design and the rest of Phase 3 design for the project. I was informed that they are working on some graphic material for that meeting, and as soon as they have that available, we will set up the meeting. And I said, let's get this sooner than later. I don't want it to linger. And they promised to be diligent about doing so. That's all of my report for today.
Let's have one person speaking, please. Great, thank you. All right, now it's my turn for comments. I also want to thank Elizabeth for starting the farmers market, the artisan market. Everything you always dreamt of and didn't want to do, we made you do, is turning out to be very, very nice. It's well attended. It's got such a great variety, and I really appreciate everything you've done to put into it. And your food is phenomenal, so thank you for bringing that tonight. Actually, I appreciate everybody's coming here tonight and speaking, and I really appreciate everybody's thoughts and points, and you raise good questions. Just because council, and speaking of myself, I don't respond to some of the emails, doesn't mean we're not listening. We are listening, and you're coming here. Everybody gets to hear your comments, but we are reading those emails and appreciate them. And that concludes my comments. We're going to go on to comments by council members. Let's start with you, Ryan.
I will second or echo what you just said. It's nice to have everybody come out, hear everybody's opinions and comments, and as Lisa also alluded to, we get all the emails you send. We can't respond to everything, and sometimes it's not necessarily our spot to respond, but I appreciate it, and I understand what everybody's going through, and I think I'm looking forward to providing some more education and insight around all the things we discussed here tonight and continuing the discussions. So thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, next, Jeff.
First, I want to thank everybody for their time, their patience, and their decorum. That goes a long way for people to listen and being heard. That's really important to me as a person, I think to most council members. From the Veterans Council, we're going to be doing, what is it, that Thursday? September 3rd. We're going to be working with Arts and Culture. We're going to have comments for veterans and a celebration, and singing some military songs. It should be very nice. Also, for veterans, there is an event coming up at Browns Field from Cuyahoga Veterans Association, where they're going to help with food, clothing, healthcare. So if you know any veterans, I'll have the date out shortly, but it's coming up in September. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jeff. Stacy?
Thank you. It's been a busy night, so I'll get right to it. I also want to thank Elizabeth for her vision and tremendous leadership in growing this market exponentially. Come if you haven't, it's amazing. I want to thank the residents who reached out to me regarding the cul-de-sac signs and follow through on our ordinance regarding people parking in these loops. I heard from those who were very grateful, as well as those who were concerned about what defines a cul-de-sac versus an oval like those in Orangewood. As school is about to begin and buses along with emergency vehicles will need to be able to get around these loops for safety of our children, our police units are ensuring that the rules are followed. Tickets are now being issued. Please follow the rules and let your landscapers know to follow the rules as well. This is for the safety of everyone. As I mentioned, Orange schools are back in session next week. As the mayor mentioned too, please drive safely. Use the school buses to transport your children. They pick you up in front of your house. We have that wonderful thing at the Orange schools that allows that. It's the safest way for our students to travel. And please be mindful of children getting on and off the buses. It is crucial that laws regarding stopping for buses and bus safety are followed. I want to thank the residents of Orange Tree who took time out of their weekend to speak with me. I look forward to our continued conversations with all parties involved so we can continue to work through the challenges together. And I want to renew my request to also be party to the discussions with Enbridge about remuneration, as I mentioned, and I hope the whole public will be aware of when these meetings are so that they can be involved as well. This Saturday, along with Replay, is the Community Art Fest at the Orange Arts Center from 10 to 2. We hope you'll stop by and support the arts there as well. And then come hear a great concert with Replay. You can bring a picnic dinner. It will be at the Mulcahy Pavilion. And we also just secured a food truck. I think, Anna, it's been approved, correct? Correct. So it's Bistro on the Go 216. Check it out online. You can decide what you'd like to order in advance. And please, since it's coming up really close to our next meeting, mark your calendars for that September 3rd event that was mentioned, as well for our Men of Independence concert and our Salute to Veterans at our Orange Goes Red, White, and Blue event. God bless you. I hope you'll support all of these endeavors. If you can't make it there, please tell a friend, have them come. They're wonderful evenings out. As a proud product of the Orange Schools, a parent of 2 graduates, and a resident, I want to thank those who came to speak on behalf of the upcoming school levy and thank them for their patience and remind everyone that this is the first time in 15 years that the school have a new levy on the ballot. Please take the time to review the Levy Committee's website to learn more about the importance of continued investment in our children's public education and the value that brings to all of our communities. And with that, I wish everyone a wonderful beginning to a great school year.
Thank you, Stacy. Amanda, your comments?
Yes. First, I also want to thank everyone who came out and spoke tonight. I love people's input, whether you're complaining or complimenting or giving a suggestion. I just think that that's a big part of the process. It's all about communication, and as Mr. Spitz said, I think a lot of the issues we've had would have been at least softened if there had been better communication. And possibly some things could have been prevented. I also want to speak to the farmers market. It is amazing, and you all have to go. The only complaint I have is that it's not crowded enough. But I have so much fun there every time I go, and I bring my dog, and you should all come and meet her. The other thing I want to talk about much more seriously is I'm very disappointed in the TIF situation because I feel I was told something or learned something very different last week from this week. And I really am looking forward to next meeting where we'll get a lot of clarification on that. And hopefully everyone can be on the same page and really understand what the benefits and cost is to that whole situation. Regarding the tree buffer, I'm switching around a lot of subjects here I'm trying to get to, though. It just keeps hitting. I cannot get it out of my mind how this buffer that was part of the original conversation way back when Omni first came up and talked to us, how it somehow disappeared. And the only thing that seems to come out of this is that at some point the engineer said, oh, the plans don't work with the trees there. But instead of it going back to P and Z and council and the developer being told, well, you got to figure out how to work it with the buffer, that somehow the buffer was just taken out. And it is a travesty. So I do think we need to review the details about what happened so that it can never happen again. There should never be a way that the engineer and developer together make a decision that so significantly changes the look of and the functionality of the project. So, okay, so that's the third thing. Sorry, my fourth thing I want to asked about what Mr. Loftus said about the solar panels and wind energy. I do want to touch on it again. We need to get our sustainability meetings up and running again. I hope that we can get some people interested to show up in September. So let's figure out if we can get some people. We really need a committee to make that move forward. And the very last thing, which is totally, just because Judd just mentioned about a village hall refresh, and because I know that there's still this big plan in the works to completely renovate half of village hall at some point. So does it make sense to do the refresh now? That's all. I mean, you don't even have to answer that. It's just sort of a question in the air. And thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you, Amanda. Kim?
Thank you. The Orange Cares meeting will be September 8th at 7 p.m. here at Village Hall. It's unclear to me whether Orange Village Codified Ordinance Section 1174.09G applies to the Canyons project, but if it doesn't, it should, and we need an ordinance to address this. And it needs to happen immediately. There is no excuse for this. I mean, we want to talk about safety. We have a major drowning hazard, and there's no fencing around it. And I asked for fencing, and I got fencing the next day, and it is this low orange nothingness, which will not keep out a dog. There needs to be a high fence on the border of that project, and I'll be very clear. I'm tired of waiting for Pulte to get back to us to get that meeting scheduled. I'm tired of having to follow up, and at this point, they need to be ordered in. This needs to move forward. I don't care if somebody's on vacation. It's a big company. They have lots of people. Somebody else can attend the meeting. This is absurd how this is dragging on. It's absurd. And by the way, when a resident feels the need to put up a fence, a temporary fence, and then somebody who is an employee of the village calls them out because they maybe didn't get a permit on their fence, which was temporary, but it's their attempt to do what the developer should have done. There should be a large, tall fence along that entire border. That should be happening. It should be there. This is not excusable, and this can't continue waiting. I don't understand why this seems to be acceptable to allow Pulte to drive the timeline on this. And I get it. We've already said that they can't build any more in phase 3 because nothing will get improved until these plans are approved. But these people are still waiting. Still nothing is being done. And if you hear my frustration, thank you, you should. I'm frustrated for them. This is not appropriate that this is the way we're treating our residents. And I know for sure that there are council members who agree with me. With respect to the updates, Judd, while I appreciate your agreement to do the updates, I thought it was could be beefed up a bit. And I think it should be a little bit more comprehensive than what was in there. That's just my personal opinion. But we are here to represent our residents who are currently residents of Orange, and we should be protecting them. I saw the law director pull up his computer to look, which is what my hope was. Does that 1174.09G apply or not apply?
I would need to look at it further and have the conversation with the building inspector.
Well, is there anything that can be done tonight to get to order a fence in, or do we have to wait till the next council meeting on September 2nd? Like, what can we do here?
I think the mayor will take it to the building inspector.
Is that okay? Because it's a concern. It should be addressed, and it should be addressed immediately. And I would simply say that if 1174.09G does not apply to all major construction projects within the village, that we need we need an ordinance that does, because to me, this is very commonsensical, and this is really for the safety of our residents and our residents' pets, I would say as well. That's it, thank you.
And Jim? wrapping it up for
All
us.
right, we call those attractive nuisances, is what I think we call them, and they can be very dangerous and very legally.
Mike, please.
So that being said, it's the sourdough that brings me out there every time. It is fantastic. The cookies are great too. At the last market, I believe we had a quorum of the council members were present, including Bagel, who I did see there. So yes, the dogs are present too. But it is an absolute fantastic opportunity for residents and the vendors, and it really is great. And will eagerly take a cookie. I saw my wife took several, but we'll deal with that later, because I don't think any of those were for me. There will be no comments from the peanut gallery. I echo Stacy's comments relative to the schools, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but under Ohio law, this legislative body is not allowed to espouse a position on the levies. We cannot opine in favor of it, but can only speak factual comments on it. And I think the most important fact on the levy is the fact that it's been 15 years. As I said earlier, it was, we're virtually on the same cycle as the cicadas with our levies. And if you compare us to the neighboring communities, that's quite a better track record. And it is, read the information. There's more information out there, because I think that an informed electorate is certainly one that will recognize the value of our school system and this levy. So, in any event, that's it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming out, people.
I just want to say, I did endorse the school levy, and I hope that.
Well, you're allowed to endorse it. We can't from the pulpit here. We can't pass a resolution in support of it. Steve can fill us all in it. Yeah. Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure I wasn't making.
You have a right as a private citizen.
All right. Thank you all for being here. I call the meeting adjourned. What?
Boy, get cookies.
Dinner. I don't think that does apply.
I don't know what, I don't.
I don't think it does either.
What are they different types of cookies?
I'm out, you know.
All the love.
I'll be moving. I've already announced it. I know, I'm sorry. My mom had